Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Alright, so here is a video on the top 5 ABB teams in Great League Season 7, Part 4. So I started analyzing ABB teams because ABB teams have been a really popular gimmick nowadays. But it's not only because it's a popular gimmick, it's because it's really good. What happens is that you create a strong dual typing that covers the closing patterns very well, and you got a very strong team. And ABB has been prominent since Season 1 because of, like I said, if you're able, for example, like Double Grass covers Azu, Double Dark covers the Psychic typing in the back, which is like Deoxys defense, Mew, Medicham, not really Medicham. Double does not really Medicham. Double Ghost covers Medicham. There you go. Double Ghost covers Medicham, and etc. So these teams are very powerful, but again, they follow a general basis and pattern that does really well against popular patterns or targets one specific Metamon in Go Battle League. That's why they're really good. So this analyzes the top 5 teams. So these teams are really interesting to look at because if you have a core breaker for the back row, or if you have a Pokemon that beats all 3 of these, for example, if I have Medicham, or if I have Scrafty in the lead, my Scrafty will technically beat this Lapras, Marowak, and Sableye team. So there is core breakers. So core breakers beats 1, etc. So it's a very interesting concept. It worked well for a while, and it has taken people a legend. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so team number 5 features the Hypno Double Dark team, famously made and created by my buddy Ferg, and he's basically promoted it and used it throughout to make our variations to make legend. As you see here, it's still really good. It has sports of 515 rating, so it's not as strong as before, or rather this is a variation of it which uses a Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Hypno. So I'm guessing Ice Punch is there to cover the Ice types. Ice Punch and Thunder Punch also cover Altaria. So Ice Punch covers Altaria very well. Thunder Punch covers Pelipper. So this is basically kind of like an anti-flyer Hypno in a sense. And it has the Scrafty Umbreon line. As you see, it's very bulky, very consistent. Scrafty and Umbreon are a powerful core, and Hypno is a tank. As you see here, like I mentioned, an Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Hypno pretty much covers Altaria, like the Flyer archetype in Altaria, and also Azu. You also cover Politoed, you also cover Medicham. So there's a lot of coverage with a Double Punch Hypno. So it's really good and really strong in Great League. As you see here, pretty high threat score, with your big threat being Registeel. Registeel, if you cannot get it on Scrafty, it kind of will run through your team. Which is why Shadow Hypno Fire Punch variation is a popular method, because that beats Registeel. And it also beats G-Fisk, I believe. But as you see here, still very strong, still very powerful. Confusion Chunks, and with this Double Punch variation, you can effectively just punch your way through a lot of top meta picks. And it's really good. As you see here, it'll work really well and serve you really well for Great League. Now, the big thing about the Scrafty Umbreon, what really sucks in the back is if you see and Azumarill. Azumarill with Play Rough will core break Scrafty and Umbreon. Also, what else will core break this team is basically any fighter in the back. Scrafty has the unique distinction of being a fighter, a literal fighting Pokemon that is weak to fighting because it's also a dark type. Unfortunately, fighting doesn't neutralize fighting, so dark types will take super effective damage against fighting types. So that's why Scrafty will get destroyed by practically any fire, which is why you see others. That's why, ironically, a Scrafty might be able to run over this entire team if it's in the lead. So as you see here, those are several core breakers. A fighter in the back can core break this team, as well as an Azumarill with Play Rough. Also, Charm in the back also core breaks this team. So if you have something like Obstagoon Double Fighter, or Double Charmer, it's literally Obstagoon Double Charmer is literally designed to destroy this team. So yeah, just be very careful. If you see an Obstagoon lead, it probably has 2 Charmers in the back. So be very careful if you see an Obstagoon lead. So this is team number 4. It has a 526 rating, but It's Bastiodon. So, Bastiodon, Cresselia, Safe Switch, and Medicham X on the back. In a sense, this is technically a Bastiodon Tap team. However, it's like a double... It's a double Psychic team, basically. So, it's like double Psychic. So, with a Bastiodon lead. So, yeah. Yay! So, basically, well, I get the understanding why. So, Cresselia resists fighting. Medicham resists, technically, even though it's a fighter, also resists fighting because it's a Psychic type. So... yeah, someone got really fancy. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, oh my god, I hate Bastiodon Medicham. Anyways, this team is really good. As you see here, great bulk, great consistency. It's pretty safe just because Cresselia is such a tank. And the thing about it is that Cresselia can actually, like, Moonblast its way through Sableye. So, if you get the Sableye Safe Switch, because of Moonblast, it's not a bad thing. If your opponent switches out slow, those extra Psycho Cuts might enable you to switch to flip the matchup. As you see here, this team is very... well, obviously, if Bastiodon sees G-Fizz, you switch it into Cresselia. G-Fizz kills Cresselia 90% of the time, and then you farm down with Medicham, and then you try to have Medicham with energy, blast to whatever's in the back, and hopefully you and Medicham and Bastiodon can take out whatever's in the back. That's pretty much what happens. Anyways, this is here to catch the Flyer lead or the Ice lead, and they will force you to switch out. As you see here, this is what I meant. With Cresselia, you also get the strong matchup against Swampert because of Grass Knot. So, you safe switch, if you see, like, Swampert, if you see Altaria, you safe switch, or Scrafty, you safe switch into Cresselia. And because Cresselia, like I mentioned, with Moonblast, allows you to basically destroy, like, Dark types, depending on how fast your opponent switches out again, it can be really interesting, and you could possibly take back Switch. As you see here, your biggest threats are going to be, of course, Galarian Stunfisk. Galarian Stunfisk hates you, well, you hate G-Fizz just because G-Fizz destroys Bastiodon. Also, any fighter lead will give you a problem as well, but that's basically what it is. As you see here, Cresselia can beat Sableye. It can beat Sableye. The keyword is can, but you need a sizable amount of energy before you can take out Sableye or Scrafty. So it's really interesting. It actually has a very low threat score, so this team can do pretty well against a lot of meta picks, but it's the Bastiodon Medicham core, which happens to actually be one of the most powerful cores. As far as core breakers go, there's not really I think G-Fizz is probably your core breaker because it beats Bastiodon and Cresselia. However, also Venusaur, because Venusaur actually, Venusaur doesn't, take... It doesn't take resisted damage from the Psycho Cut, but it resists both Grass Knot and it resists Moonblast. So Cresselia, it doesn't have a strong matchup against Venusaur for that purpose. So as you see, there are several core breakers here, but the main ones you're going to see is probably Venusaur and G-Fizz, because those are the two most popular ones. Also, your back row, if it sees a Mew can also ironically core break your back row just because it has Shadow Claw. So be mindful. some very good meta picks actually core break either the back row or the first two Pokemon in this team. Alright, this has a 536 rating. It's the number 3 most powerful. It's pretty good, but it's Alola Marowak and double grass? Okay, so the problem with Alola Marowak, or at least I see from Politoed's a really popular lead. So the weather archetype has taken a little bit of a rise. Alolan Marowak with Fire Spin also loses against Jealous Scent. Yes, you can Shadow Bone, but Hex hits harder than Shadow Bone, and you are weak to Bubble Beam. So, Alolan Marowak is a very interesting lead nowadays. So just keep that in mind. I'm assuming Shadow Shifter is your safe switch. I personally don't like it as a safe switch, just because Shadow Shifter is insanely squishy. Not only that, if you get a fighter slopped into you, the most you're going to break is probably 1 shield before you get completely farmed down. So, again, very interesting. So, as we analyze it, it has incredibly bad coverage and bulk. Fire Double Grass, in my opinion, isn't... The basis of his team is to try to catch Azu in the back or a Mudboy in the back. That's really what it is. However, a lot of leads actually beat Alola Marowak, so that's why it's really, really interesting. As you see here, not too safe either, and it has consistent damage. Against a meta scorecard, like I mentioned before, if you get Azu, if you get Swampert, if you get Politoed in the lead, or even Jellicent, you are screwed, good sir. Alola Marowak does not like water. You pour a bunch of water on top of it, you also have a dark lead, and it's going to kill you. Yeah. Umbreon's also a popular league nowadays, so it's again, Alola Marowak, very, very interesting. Super interesting. As you see, the back row does take out Azumarill, it takes out Mudboys, your back row can also take out Umbreon, as well as Politoed. So it's basically to annihilate the water typing. However, teams like Triple Weather Ball with Pelipper and Politoed still do very well against this team. Again, Shadow Shifty is a very glassy boy. If you can run through Shadow Shifty with a fighter, it's kind of a bad scenario for you. But yeah, so again, like, this team's very, very interesting. Very strong in my opinion. However, you have a lot of weaknesses. Because Altaria is still a popular flyer, Mandibuzz effectively kind of destroys your entire team. And Talonflame, yeah. Well, I don't see a lot of Talonflame, but I've seen it in the back a lot. So that back row with Talonflame will core break the hell out of this entire team. Alolan will absolutely destroy you because of Sludge Wave. Altaria pretty much wrecks this entire team, and you still see Altarias out there. Skarmory can also give you a problem. It's in the back. For example, if you have a Mew Skarmory Scrafty line is pretty much perfectly tailored to destroy this team. So, as you see here, it does have a ton of weaknesses. I can see how it works. However, I wouldn't recommend it just because of a lot of what I see nowadays. Alolan Marowak is not a great lead, but it's up to you. As you see here, it has an incredibly high threat score, and there's a lot of things that core break the back. Ice Weather Ball core breaks your back row. Fighters can core break your back row, as in like Medicham with Ice Punch. Psycho Boost DD can actually break your back row as well. There are several weaknesses to this team, and Altaria just destroys you. Altaria and Talonflame can effectively just annihilate you. So this team is very risky, but if you do use it and use it well, it can serve you very well in this meta. Alright, so the second most powerful team as far as ABB goes is Hypno Double Dark again. But the thing is, I think what's really great is that, at least if you use this team, is that it had a resurgence because last time it was like, it fell off. Like, it was, I think it was close to like 510, and it rose to like 530. So it 530, so 542, so that means it's like, it rose like a couple of ranks. But this is a different variation. I think Shadow Hypno is usually in the lead, but this one has regular Hypno, Shadow Ball, Thunder Punch, basically the OG Hypno, and then you have Double Dark in the back. So it's still really good. It's still really powerful. This is kind of the general one. So this is kind of the Thunder Punch, Shadow Ball, and then you have Double Dark in the back. If you use it before, you'd know what I'm talking about already. If you've battled it, then you've probably already either been beat by it, or it's kicked, or you've either beat it or it's destroyed you, which has happened to me before too. Anyways, this team is very powerful. Again, I'm not going to go over this one too much because this is just it. I've went over this like in the past couple of videos. I've already went over this. So, well, this thing, it's very bulky, a lot of coverage. Again, if you lose lead, just say switch to Umbreon and then just realign accordingly. Now, again, Obstagoon Double Charm is basically designed to destroy this team. That's the only thing bad about this as far as core breakers go. Fighters in the back, of course, Medicham in the back or Toxicroak in the back does harm a lot. If it's able to avoid Hypno, Medicham is kind of your worst nightmare as far as core breakers go. And like I mentioned before, the Obstagoon Double Charm team is basically designed to catch this team. If it catches this team, you're pretty much, there's almost nothing you can do, for sure. Alright, so this is the #1 team as far as ABB goes. It is Lapras lead, Alolan Marowak, and Sableye. The really weird thing is it's not even a return Sableye, it's a Shadow Sneak Sableye. I think Shadow Sneak is there to counter Medicham XL, but I honestly don't like this team. I try to use it and see how it performs, but with the Hypno Double Dark team out there, or just one Dark type in general in the back, core breaks this combination. And without return, you can't really take Switchback against Azu. So this is a very awkward team. As you see here, it doesn't have a lot of coverage. It's okay bulk and not very safe and consistent. Again, you don't have a... I think what this does is like catch Deoxys defense or Psychic safe switches and then punishes them with a Alolan Marowak and Sableye, which is what generally happens. As you see, this is why almost every Psychic type, as you see here, is being Cresselia, and Mew, but it's very, very strange. Your potential threats are G-Fizz. G-Fizz can run through, even though Lapras has Surf, G-Fizz does get to Rock Slide pretty quick. So I think G-Fizz does beat Lapras in the 2 shield the last time I checked, just because it outpaces you with Mud Shot. Scrafty also in the lead will destroy this entire team. So especially the Sableye, because since Sableye doesn't have return, Scrafty essentially walls everything you have. Same thing with Umbreon. Umbreon will resist Ghost, it also resists Dark type attacks. So Sableye does not have return. This is why it's a really odd Sableye. And it has an insane, this is the highest threat score ABB team I've ever seen. I don't know how it broke into the top 5, because I mean, it statistically is good, but I have a very hard time understanding how this works. So before I do anything, let's just go. Okay, so with this team, we're just gonna go. Let's go into training and let's just put it in here. Just because, as the #1 team, this has me stunned. Just because it's incredibly strange how this works. Because return is so valuable for several reasons. If you don't have return, unless you catch a Medicham or a Psychic, you're kind of bad. Okay, so this is the training simulator. We're just gonna run through one random battle and see what happens. Okay, Hypno Shadow. If this is a Thunder Punch Hypno, which is, I'm basically guessing, you lose this matchup. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to straight Surf, try not to let Confusions go through, and the Confusion does go through. So, we're going to sack Lapras. This is probably Hypno Double Dark. If it is Hypno Double Dark, then we pretty much auto-lose this team. So, let's figure out what happens here. I'm not going to shield anything. Even if it's a Shadow Hypno, I can tank one Thunder Punch. But this is going to be very awkward, because even though if this is the team I'm thinking, even if I try to win switch, I will lose this matchup. Another Confusion gets through, which is really annoying, but you know, it's what it is. So we're going to fire the second serve. Hopefully we grab a shield, or this does damage. So we do grab the shield. We know Shadow Hypno has Thunder Punch, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send in Sableye to try to just claw down. But if this is Hypno Double Dark, I'm going to swap to Alolan Marowak to try to catch a power-up punch, but you don't really need a pup. It's a foul play, for sure. Yep. Yeah! Without return, this team just absolutely just gets trucked by Scrafty and by... This is where it's kind of a concern. Also, even with the Alolan, technically the Obstagoon Double Charm team would also break this team pretty hard, too. Your core breakers with a double ghost team is obviously, as you see here, one dark team. And as you see, Scrafty pretty much erases everything we have. We catch this power-up punch, which is this pup, which is great, but even then, we're in a very tight position, because if it's what I think is in the back is in the back, we're still in trouble. Especially with, like I mentioned, with a Sableye that doesn't have return. Not having return isn't preferred, because if you don't have return, it's gonna suck a lot for you, because you essentially don't have any coverage against dark types. I'm pretty much expecting the Umbreon at this point to come out in the back. So we take out the Scrafty, and there's good old Umbreon. I probably should have threw a Shadow Bone to try and get the defense Steve up, but even then, with Sableye getting walled, this is basically an auto loss. So this is terrible for us right now. I'm gonna try to catch a foul play, because I don't really have a choice. And as you see, yeah, this is terrible. Without return, we don't have an answer to this Umbreon. Foul play will do neutral damage, but still, this without, like, as you see here, it's, oh man, this is terrible. What we can do is try to chunk down with foul play, but this is game. Like, without, like, a return Sableye could give us play here. Because what we can do is try to chip down the Umbreon's HP and then try to return it for the W. But even then, Umbreon's a very thick Pokemon. As you see here, Sableye is not doing well right now, especially without return. You know what's crazy? We probably could have got to 2 returns. If we charged up Sableye, fired a return, then just sacked the Alolan Marowak, we might have had a win condition for this Umbreon. As you see here, I'm just going to try to do as much damage as possible. They can still farm me down. And then this Mon will have enough energy to take us out with a foul play in our Alolan Marowak, and that's GG's. Now, this is why I don't like it. Yeah. Obstagoon Double Charm will beat you, and if I got the defense debuff with Shadow Bone, I might have had a chance. But even then, it's not comfortable to have an Alolan Marowak. Yeah, this isn't comfortable. I mean, I could have Fire Blasted. But as you see here, it's already a rough matchup, and that's GG's. Again, I really don't like this team, just because it's Azu Double Dark, but Azu is tanky and Azu has coverage. Lapras doesn't have a lot of coverage, especially with Skull Bash. And it's pretty true considering the rankings. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's it. ABB teams, in my opinion, are still, well, the Hypno Double Dark team is still really good, but other than that, like, the variation, or, like, things like the Azu Double Dark team, or Double Ghost team, have seemed to fall off the radar quite a little bit. I think it's because meta Pokemon are just so powerful nowadays that things like, well, technically the Hypno Double Dark team is super meta as well, but as it just really comes to show that, like, very meta picks are, like, combinations, like, I would say, like, G-Fisk, etc., Metacham XL are just getting so oppressive that the Hypno Double Dark team works a lot just because you have Scrafty to cover G-Fisk and the Ghost types. So it's a very awkward, it's very weird, or the meta is very weird right now. Again, some ABB teams, because there is a Mon that can core break either the Bs or the entire team itself, or even the AB, the first two, it's very difficult to really say how effective they will be in the future. Especially if, like, especially with, like, something like Obstagoon Double Charm running around. For example, if you run the Double Dark team and you find Obstagoon Double Charm, that team is basically there to catch Hypno Double Dark. It's basically an auto win. So, very difficult to come back from it, and it's, like I said, because of so many new Pokemon coming out, it's gonna be very weird to see where ABB ends up. However, what I can say is that the Hypno Double Dark team is very consistent and has stayed consistent for the past couple of seasons. So if you want to run an ABB team, I would definitely recommend Hypno, whether it be Shadow, the regular one, and then the Double Dark one, because that's the one that statistically over time has seemed to be the most useful and most consistent throughout Go Battle League. Good luck on your guys' Go Battle League sets. If you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video.